This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vasugi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, and welcome back to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host, Arash Vasugi, and we're so happy to be back with you for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking all about the mindset and thinking that created Arash's quantum leap. So I'm really excited to dig in here. Arash, how are you?
I'm great, Mikey. How are you?
I am doing great as well. You know, obviously you've created countless quantum leaps at this point, but what I would like to start is I feel like we could go back to the beginning and you could tell us all what your thinking was like before your first major breakthrough for a good starting point.
Yeah, sure. That's taken me back a long time. So how I recall it is I had a lot of doubt. I had been really working hard at trying to figure out the combination. No matter how many books I read, no matter how many seminars I went to, no matter the YouTube videos, no matter the coaches I had, I wasn't creating the results. So what happened for me was when I said no to going back to my job was like a transformational moment for me. I didn't know it at the time. But I always say that was the moment I truly bet on myself instead of dabbled. Now, the people who are listening to this, like ask yourself, am I dabbling or am I all in? I wasn't all in until I let go of the parachute. Like that was the first moment. Mm-hmm. Well, shortly after, literally later that afternoon, that's why I said it was such a transformational moment. I had an acquaintance who connected me to my mentor. And I want to put you in my mindset because a lot of people could relate to this. I was frustrated. I didn't trust myself. I wanted something much bigger. I think a lot of people want something much bigger, but they don't give themselves permission to go do it. Anyway, I get on this call with my mentor and he's telling me like, I could show you the way, basically. Like I'm dumbing it down. I could show you the way. But at the time, my mindset was so skeptical. And he said something that changed the game for me. And I haven't shared this with very many people. I haven't shared this in a long time, actually. But, you know, he said, I said, is this really going to work? So he picked up my skepticism, you know. And he said, I don't know. Are you going to do what I tell you? And I said, I don't know. I never do what anyone tells me. Anyway, he gave me a framework, really. And he said, do you know anybody who's successful that's skeptical? And I said, no. And he said, so how's that working for you? I said, well, it's not. And he turned that skepticism, I wouldn't say it was a full-fledged belief because I'd be lying to you, but he turned that skepticism into me playing it into a game. I always talk about I made that first year a game. And I said, what if this does work? So I was just using what if it does? What if it does? Well, that eliminated my skepticism that opened the space for me to go create what I wanted. And that was the starting point for me.
Would you say from that specific conversation forward, I don't want to say we're forced, but you thought differently. You never went back to that previous way of thinking. Like that conversation changed the way you think.
Something changed drastically that day for me. You know, that day I bet on myself and I had this conversation. Even though my results didn't change, I was like, something different is happening. Like just like for me to attract the stuff I attracted that day, after I decided not to go back to a job, and then a few hours later, beknownst to me that I knew somebody that knew somebody I admired who ended up becoming my mentor. So I didn't know it, but I knew it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't trust myself still at this time. So I still use the same framework to create every quantum leap now. Number one is betting on myself. Number two, I don't have skepticism. I believe I could do anything. I truly believe that now. Because I understand the mind. I understand that you wouldn't have an idea if it wasn't meant to be fulfilled. So I just am really good at accepting ideas now. But at that time, the next big thing that happened for me is all of a sudden, I started doing things right away. I just started doing it now. I did everything with urgency. Now, I know why I did compared to why I didn't before, because I didn't have much money in the bank and I didn't have a job and I was getting married a few weeks later. So it forced me to change. But what happens is a lot of people think your thoughts change your feelings. Your feelings is on the emotional level. Your feelings are the most important, and my feelings changed. So my emotional state changed, like, get to work, dude. You got to go do this. You got to go do this. Because here were my options. Go back to school, get a master's, which I did not want to do. Go to another job and work in the corporate world, which I did not want to do. So I challenged myself, and I'm really good. I'm super competitive with myself. Like, I use competition with myself as an advantage, and to this day, I still do it. My mentor used to tell me, "You're one of the most competitive people I've ever met." But I'm never competing against other people. I'm just competing against myself. That really changed so much for me.
I can imagine that you had a lot of fear and a lot of doubt, not just in that first decision when we went way back, but I also want to know, when you're creating Quantum Leap now, do you still come up against fear or doubt, and how do you override it?
Yeah, if you have a big goal, yeah, I do. The answer is yes. But I reframe it. So I created a process for myself to bulletproof everything in my favor. If something bad happened, oh, that was so good for me. That was so good for me. So when fear and doubt come, I think it's designed to help me. So I said, I wouldn't have fear and doubt if it was already part of my program. So it tells me who I need to grow into. And the fear is designed to help me. And when I have a doubt, all I do, and I've shared it on the podcast, is I just say, oh, that was my old self. And the doubt just drifts away. I don't fight it. I don't force it. But none of it happens without behaving before you're ready. Like, I started behaving before I was ready. If I told you the two things action-wise that creates every quantum leap in my life, and from that moment on, I could take you back 20 years. From that moment on, it's before I was ready, I started taking action, even though I was falling on my face. Mm-hmm. And then I did everything immediately. I did it urgently. And I just kept doing it over and over and over again, and that's what changed the game.
It's so good. So what would you say is the number one thing that had to change in your thinking to start creating quantum leaps? You mentioned doing it now. You mentioned taking risks, acting before you're ready. But was there something in your thinking specifically that was holding you back that had to change?
I was too passive. So I became active in my thinking, not just active in my actions. I became super connected to the present moment. This is all I have is right now. And that really did so much good for me going to this day. Like, I don't even think about yesterday. Like, a lot of people say that, but I really don't live in yesterday. I could have crushed it yesterday. It doesn't even matter. I always tell myself I have to prove myself every day, to me, not to anybody else. And so that was a really good habit that I created, that really created the results. See, nobody wins if they don't take action. So action became one of my best friends.
I know you really well, so I know the kind of relationship that you have with failure and risk-taking now. What was your relationship like with failure and risk-taking before, and has that evolved?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a great relationship with failure because I didn't understand it, number one, but I was letting the results dictate. If I succeeded, I felt good. If I failed, I felt bad. Now, my relationship to failure is I have the same attitude and temperance, whether I win or lose. Failure, I didn't understand. Risk taking, I always took risks. Like, I was never not a risk taker. Mm-hmm. Now I'm a supreme risk taker. Now it's like, let's go do this. If this is going to pivot me forward, I'm going to do it. I always use I read a book years ago, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And in this book, they were talking about the two dads. And the poor dad wanted things, but he says, I can't afford it. And the rich dad would say, can I afford not to do it? Well, that really struck a chord with me. So even when I didn't have the money to get mentorship, I crawled to figure it out. Like I was clawing to figure out where I could get the money. See, I believe anybody can get the money if they want it badly enough, but they don't have the identity for it. So if you don't have the identity, well, you want somebody in your corner who does have the identity that shows you that you could do it. So I always tell salespeople, the worst thing you could ever do is fall for that objection that they don't have the money. Now, I could relate to it because I didn't have the money, but I figured it out because it was important enough for me. And there's so much growth in getting the money. There's so much growth in showing yourself what you're capable of. So, my decision-making changed. Like I'm a great decision maker. And if I make a decision, it's done. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to figure it out. Like that's what, none of this happens without decision. Yet most people are sitting on the sideline and saying, well, when this happens, then I'll do it. When this happens, then I'll do it. Or they'll compare to other people. Well, this isn't anybody else's race. When my life changed is I started setting enormous goals. But I look back and I said, okay, what was it that really changed for me? My perception is what changed. My perception of what was possible changed. But not only did my perception change everything, perception is what activated discipline in my life. Perception is what got me to upgrade my attitude. Perception is what got me to change the type of circles I was in. So it had, like I always say, if I was starting over, there's two things that I would do from the beginning. I'd only work on identity and I would change my perception. Like those are the two things that I would do. Well, there's a third. I would have set bigger goals.
Yeah. We have worked with thousands of people at Voss Coaching Co. through mentorship on creating quantum leaps. We have our quantum leap coaching program. So this is kind of exactly what we do. When you meet someone, how do you know that they're primed and ready to create a quantum leap? Like they're right on the edge. Not like, I think everyone, obviously you believe everyone's capable of creating a quantum leap. Everyone deserves to create a quantum leap. But how do you know that they're like right on the edge about to have that breakthrough?
Because they've got juice. They've got energy. They're excited. They're talking about it. Even though they don't know what the hell they're doing. They've struggled. They were like me. They were frustrated, but they wanted it so badly. So I know those are the people. I always say, if you give me a client that is failing severely and they give me 1% of desire, I can activate it. I can activate them. I just need 1%. I don't need more than that. I just need a little ounce that they want something more. So that's how I know.
Is that juice hope-filled or what is it exactly?
In the beginning, it's hope. Hope is great because hope gives us options in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had hope. That's why I kept persisting.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, a lot of people say they want things, but they don't make the next step.
Yeah.
So I always know, like, this, like I don't work with people who are not going to follow through, because if they're not going to follow through, I can't help them.
Yeah.
I want people, even if they need to be pushed to follow through in the beginning, because they haven't built that will yet. They haven't built that belief yet. I understand that. But I just need them to be open and like, okay, well, what else changed? I'm so open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the way is. The way will show itself. You have to be open-minded to create quantum leaps. You can't be closed-minded. And I'm always thinking, like, our clients, I have an obsession to serve them. Like, I love our clients. Yeah. And not everybody does. They say they do, but the clients know how much I love them. They know because it's how you make them feel. So that's why people give us so many success stories, because they want to. That's why people refer us all over the world, because of how we serve. So my service, without service, there are no quantum leaps. My service changed so dramatically. But now, if you fast forward how I think, I'm always thinking, how can I make a better opportunity for somebody to succeed? So I'm always putting out new offers because the whole purpose of me putting an offer is to change somebody's life. So I'm always thinking about what can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? You know, and so I'll give you an idea how my mind works. Okay. I was in um, Cancun a few weeks ago, and I got a call from a client. And he said, over the last 40 days, you have 3x my sales. I said, well, I haven't 3x it. You did. And he said, no, I did exactly what you told me. All we focused on was sales. So I got out my phone and I put a video out that I said, starting in July, anybody who wants to do a 90-day sprint with me to massively explode their sales. And we had so many people sign up right away. It was just a video. It was what, 30 seconds?
Yeah.
I just give it an invitation, and whoever wants to do it does it. That's my thinking. But I know I'm gonna get all these people to explode their sales in 90 days. So that's my thinking. My thinking is like, what else could I do that will help a different type of client? What else would I do would help my current clients? So when you're thinking of how you can, this goes into that what if. That's all my mind is, and that's what creates the most enormous quantum leaps.
I love that because you're giving so much of the actual thinking that creates a quantum leap. You said how you can. You're thinking of how you can. You have an open mind. How much does coachability go into this?
Well, you have to be coachable. I always say, I was telling my wife this. One of the greatest gifts our mentor gave me from the very beginning, he told me two things. He goes, you are super smart, which I never even thought of myself like that because I was a C student, going through college. B's and C's. I'll give myself some B's too. But that reformed my identity. Then he said something that just changed the game for me. He said, you're one of the most coachable people I've ever met. Understand, before he said that, I never saw myself as coachable. He literally shifted my identity. And I actually walked into that. I was not, I don't know why he told me that because I wasn't that coachable in the beginning, um, but I became that identity. That was one of the greatest gifts he gave me because, when an authoritative figure tells you something, it has meaning, right? It has so much meaning. And that really had a big impact on me. Like it had a huge impact. To this day, it has a huge impact. I walk around that I'm the most coachable person, like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Like I know if I invest, because we invest all the time to grow our business, to get better at what we do. Why do I invest? Because everybody has blind spots. Like if you're not investing, you are crazy. You are out of your mind, because you're just going to create from the past self. And you want to be in a room where you're not the smartest person. You want to be around people who are further than you. And that is another thing that really, in my thinking, it's not how much is this going to cost? I'm going to execute. I'm going to come out with 1 or 3 ideas that I'm going to execute right away. And that's how my mind is always thinking.
So good. Okay, if you look at all different kinds of people, they may be in any sort of circumstance right now, but they want a quantum leap. Maybe they're stuck. Maybe they've created a plateau. They're ready for their next breakthrough. What would you give them as like 1 to 3 top thinking mindsets that they need to adopt and execute on to create that quantum leap?
Well, the first thing I will tell you, and I believe this in every cell of my being, you have a ton of potential. I believe in human potential because I knew where I was and where I am now. But I don't just look at that. I looked in a 90-day period when I got serious, how much everything changed in such a short manner. So I would tell you, make a decision right now and go bet on yourself because none of this starts until you bet on yourself. And being inspirationally dissatisfied like I was, where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, can anyone relate to that? That is such a creative state. That is a great place for you to be. But it's only great if you leverage it. And what I mean by that is if you do it, the whole purpose of great mentors in people's lives, great circles, is you want to leverage your own ignorance. I always say success is about speed and ignorance. And Once you leverage your ignorance, you're going to speed up. And so there's not one person who can't create a quantum leap within weeks. There's not one, if they get serious. So I would say bet on yourself, make a decision, change your perspective instead of going from the past to what if. What if it does happen? And walk in and take action. If you need help, send me an email at hello@vosscoachingco.com. I'll help you. I love helping people because I used to be you. Like if you look at our clients, we're just helping what I used to be, and so I could relate to it on both ends.
I love that. All right, let's get into an action step for today.
Well, if you just take one of the ideas I gave today, maybe it's do it now, maybe it's betting on yourself, but follow it through with an action so you create a visceral experience. Maybe it's behaving your way into a new identity. Maybe it's sending us an email if you really want the help. Like right now, if you're like, I'm not doing it. Listen, I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars so our clients don't have to, and I would recommend you follow this episode with an absolute firm, non-negotiable action step, but leverage my belief that you have unlimited potential. But I want you to do something with that potential. I want you to follow it through so you create a new identity, so you create amazing results. Maybe you're sitting there and like, I'm afraid to get in that business. Go get in it. Go get in it. Make a bold move for yourself, because once you decide, the universe works off of energy. Decision is death of everything opposite. And once you make a bold decision, I promise you, magic is going to start happening in your life just like it did with mine.
Let's go. I hope everybody is fired up now. Arash, thank you so much. Thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and leave us a rating and review. And most importantly, share this with your friends and family so they too can become listeners of the 7-Figure Standard podcast. And we'll see you next week for another episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachingco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7-Figure Standard.